Hello, welcome to another video. So today I'm going to talk about themes that all interweave of feeling like a misfit, feeling like you don't fit in, finding belonging, walking into a room and worrying about other people's judgments. So if you have experienced any of that, then you might like to listen. So yeah, I've spent many years of my life, even since a child, being in such a wide range of different rooms, led much more by my interest in learning and exploring new things and new interests rather than necessarily me wanting to socialize. I mean, I love meeting new people, but I did also find it very awkward and hard sometimes, but I love to learn. So I would end up in very different places. Like even from a child, I remember I used to go to these philosophy classes when I was about 7, and it was all adults, and I probably didn't say anything. And I used to go to my local city farm and found the other kids there like really hard to understand how to interact with them. I had friends at school, but new groups of other kids, I was not very good at that. Or at least not in my memory, I'm not sure. And this voice, these messages followed me around into my adulthood of I don't belong here, I don't fit in, I'm not like these people. And it's a protective mechanism. It's saying I'm the odd one out and I need to separate myself and I'm going to be here, but I'm going to be very distanced from you so that even if I got excluded from this group, I'm already one foot out the door. It's basically the avoidant attachment of groups. And it's very guarded and it stops you from really connecting with people because you've already assumed that you don't belong. And it's also quite reductive and somewhat not directly insulting, but when you think about it, it's like you're reducing everybody else in that room to be perfectly homogenous with that group, like that there's no other depth or they have no other interests or that they are all perfectly similar and fit in with this group, which is obviously not true. I mean, some people do lean more into like a single group, usually like a single interest, but still everybody in there is going to be so different. Probably everybody's going to feel like maybe they don't fit in for some reason or another. And sometimes we get caught up with thinking that fitting in means you have to look the same or dress the same or be from the same place or think the same. And those are quite reductive, again, ways of understanding belonging. And a group is simply made up of the people there. So if you're there, you're part of the group. And you're part of that unique recipe that's going to be different every time. And you're one of the ingredients, just like everybody else. Nobody would ever make a recipe where the whole ingredient list is the same ingredient. Like, we want the diversity. We want everybody to bring their flavor. We want the ginger and the cumin and the coriander to be themselves rather than to all try to be the carrot, you know? And it reminds me of that Shonda Rhimes quote, which is, you belong in any room you enter, and if you don't feel like you belong, then act like it. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, because if you're there, then you belong. And I had it recently. I went to this new event where I didn't know anyone. I didn't know. Sometimes I like to know what the space is going to look like, how many people are going to be there, you know. And so I still get nervous. It's not intense. But it's there. But I think that's a good thing. You know, it's understandable, and I'd kind of want to feel a bit nervous before I go into a new space. And yeah, it's kind of quite simply, I'm here, tick. I'm me, yep. Okay, so I just need to be. And I don't need to automatically kind of outcast myself before I've even connected. And I don't need to try to be something different. I can still be myself and trust that that's okay. And I don't have to rely on hoping that other people are going to like me to be able to be myself first. And being the outlier is quite a strong experience for me, because I have been in so many different places, like explored the creative and sexual and spiritual and dangerous and dingy worlds, to name a few, and they all seem like they would never overlap. And I'm so grateful to have experienced such a wide range of places and people. And it's actually really it's not the path for everyone, but it's a really beautiful, rich path. You can see how much societal, how much culture affects how we act, and how much societal expectations we place upon ourselves, and also how much that differs from place to place. Like when I was in Peru, people would tell me, you say thank you too much. You say thank you all the time. You don't need to say thank you to me. If you do this for me, I'll do it for you. It's just kind of the gratitude is there, and it's not to say lose your manners, but you might find a person here in England that loses their head if somebody doesn't say thank you to them. And it's all very cultural. And people come here and they say, oh, why does everyone say sorry so much? But then if somebody didn't say sorry, they think it was rude. And that's a very simple example, but we do it with so many things. And so exposing ourselves to more cultures can be so eye-opening, and you can start to decide what feels true for you and what doesn't. And that's not to say you would go into a religious place and start doing things that they would think to be profane because it's your freedom of expression. But to kind of have that mix of understanding the room that you're in, whilst also staying true to yourself and not trying to contort yourself to think you need to be something else. And from that place, then I can lean into connection more, because I'm more secure and grounded in myself. And when we worry about what other people are thinking, worry about their judgments, it's usually just the judgments that we have towards ourselves. If you were completely content with your body, you're not going to walk into the gym. And I use the gym in a lot of my examples, but I think it's a very simple place where I can notice a lot of patterns, and I learn a lot from the mundane, the kind of simple places in life where you can see human behavior. So yeah, if you're not worried about your body, you're not going to walk into the gym and be overthinking about people thinking your body doesn't look good. Whereas the opposite, you probably would. And whether you're thinking they are or they're not, people are doing their own thing regardless. And sure, people are going to judge you. It's not like that's not going to happen. It's not saying everybody's going to like you, but it doesn't matter if they do. At least when you can cultivate that sense of home within yourself, it doesn't matter if they do. So when you're less worrying about that, then you can live more how you want to live. And when you're around someone that is very much in their own flavour of things, sometimes it can feel triggering, sometimes it can be annoying. And that's quite informative for you if you find it that way. And sometimes it can be inspiring. I've found before, it's wow, they're so free to just come into this room and dance, So either way, we've gifted people. Either we can learn, okay, this is a place that I feel really inhibited, or I feel really inspired. And it's not saying, oh, if somebody comes in and like dances all over the place, that's what you need to do. But if there is a strong reaction to it, then it usually is telling you something. Whereas someone could just walk into a room and dance and you think nothing of it. And yeah, so it's kind of coming back into our individuality, our authenticity, our naturalness, without trying to contort or dim or overshine ourselves. And that's what makes groups so fun, is when everybody is being so themselves and it's such a complementary mix. So the more that we can cultivate this belonging and safety and trust in ourselves, the more we're gifting others with that same sense of ease. Because we need to ask ourselves, I think this is true with like any decision we make. We have an idea of what our values are, but often our actions can not actually align with those values. So you can say, what do I value more? My freedom of expression and my ability to explore my curiosity and go to places that I haven't been to before? Or do I value more the fear of other people's opinions? And I think that the first step in this, as usual, is a mental understanding. Understanding, why am I judging others? Why am I scared people are judging me? Why am I so scared to walk into a room by myself? And they're all like really valid and understandable reasons. There's been so many personal and collective experiences of being killed, of being hurt, of being excluded, of being shamed for being ourselves. So it's very understandable that there is so much shame and fear around it. And so first of all, have compassion for yourself. Okay, this is why it feels so intense. It's kind of like the public speaking fear. We all know we're not going to die if we stand on a stage, but it still feels very terrifying sometimes. So yeah, this mental understanding. I'm judging. I'm scared other people would judge me, and that's okay. Understanding your past experiences, how your nervous system is, like what its baseline is, because most of us are living in a state of kind of covert perpetual stress. And I'm going to talk about that in another video because there's a lot I want to say about that. And we were all once children, completely free to express ourselves and be us and not worrying about these things. And then through experience after experience, we learnt to fit in and contort and be something other than ourselves. So it's big stuff. And then there's the embodiment part of it. So spending time making yourself feel at home in your own body. That's done through really present time. Alone time is not time on your phone. Alone time is nothing else but you. Maybe the nature, maybe a bath, but you with yourself, present. It can include self-touch. It could be meditation. It can be different embodiment practices. It can be regulating your nervous system and coming to a deeper state of relaxation so that your mind isn't running around like one of those little yappy dogs. Because if we're disembodied and we're living from here, it's going to go crazy. It does go crazy. It can tell us all sorts of things. And the more that we can drop into our body, really feel ourselves and start to feel safe within ourselves, then we can carry that with us and feel safe wherever we go. And when we have that baseline of safety, we know when actually something's dangerous. We can listen to it more rather than it being heightened over stuff it doesn't need to be. And then our sense of what's safe and what's not is all a bit skew-if. So the mental, the embodied, and then there's some playful ways that you can experiment with this. Like, ask yourself, what are you scared of being seen as? Maybe you're scared of being seen as rude, and just go out, and if somebody comes up to you, just give a one-word answer. Or, it doesn't have to mean like be rude, like be mean to someone, but those things that would make you feel awkward, like to say no when somebody asks you for a favor, or to say, I really don't want to talk right now, when somebody wants to chat away and you've bumped into them. Just leaning into those things that feel like, ooh, that was uncomfortable. I hope they don't think that I'm rude. That can be really telling for where we're manipulating ourselves. Or maybe you're scared of being seen in your loudness, and you can lean into that discomfort of just, even I used to find it cringe to when people be filming themselves in the gym. So I was like, I'm just going to film myself a few times in the gym. Realised it's really not that big deal. I've got over it very quickly. And then I was like, oh, people are just doing what they need to do. Like, they need to make content. Cool. Maybe they're just looking at their form. Cool. And it was such a, sometimes these little silly things that if we can lean into them and do the thing that we judge without, losing sense of our morals. Or maybe we are very loud and we feel very comfortable showing off our intellectualness or our ability to dance really confidently around a room. I remember one time it felt really edgy just to go to an ecstatic dance and not actually move. And this was in Thailand, so we were doing them, multiple times a week. I wasn't wasting a ripe opportunity. I was like, wow, how does this feel just to not dance? And they're sometimes so silly, but they can be so freeing. So maybe you're scared of being seen as boring or serious or excitable or silly or weird. Whatever it is, you can lean into it and just use it as research, especially if you live in a city. There's so many places. You can just go to a room, experiment with a random side of yourself, and you never have to see those people again. It's like a playground. It's so fun. Also, another way to stop worrying is to find ways of connecting, which I feel like this would have been more primal, through art and dance and ways where you don't actually have to talk, where it's a very childlike state where you're connecting over creativity, and it is beautiful, and you are connected through this co-creation rather than any sort of beliefs about the world or something like that, which can be very divisive. So, I hope that was helpful. As always, it's like, be compassionate, be curious, experiment, play, be tender with yourself. It's all perfect as it is. And the more compassion and love and acceptance we find for ourselves, the more we find it for others. The more we can find it for others, the more we can find it for ourselves. I feel like both, whichever way you work on it, it's going to reciprocate, if that's the right word. And come home to yourself and cultivate a peaceful mind, and life will be infinitely more enjoyable. So I hope you've enjoyed listening. As always, I love the engagement. If you have comments, questions, thoughts come up, please comment below. You can like and subscribe. You can also check out my website, georgiaarabella.com, if you are interested in working together or finding out a bit more about what I do with people one-on-one and events as well. So thanks for listening.